October the 16th. Do you know what time it is? It's Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton, and we are live taking your calls this Thursday at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, and we're on Sirius XM 126 and local stations where Channel 126 is where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York, and that means we are live on live stream, and many are already checked in on live stream, and I see Shirley Carter said Philadelphia is here, and Cassandra D says Milwaukee, Wisconsin is here. The mayor from Queensbridge Houses in Queens, New York, Rodney Jones, is here. So I have our line up where you can call in, and of course you can go on the message board at the nationalactionnetwork.net, go to live stream. Yvette Coleman, Forrest, I see you in Indianapolis. And Ladybug 77, good afternoon from Raleigh, North Carolina. So, and good afternoon, Derek Thomas from Houston, Texas. Houston in the house. Connie Spoon, Houston, Texas here. It's good to have this national conversation. A lot is happening. The Senate failed for the 10th time to pass the spending bill, which means, thank you, Veronica Oliver. It's good afternoon from Canada. All right. International friends. And they are, back to the subject, they still will have a government shutdown. It is clear that they're trying to avoid dealing with the issue of the Affordable Care Act. And I think that the Democrats must stay strong. November 1st is the deadline where the premiums can go up. It could cost millions of people their health care coverage. And we're going to talk about that today. Clearly, all they have to do is say we are extending the deadline. We can fight it out in January, but they don't want to do that. They want to end this Affordable Care Act since it started. That's what the battle is, and we, in my opinion, should not waver at all. At the same time, the whole question of the budget and the question of how they're going to deal with spending layoffs. The judge has now, at least temporarily, blocked federal layoffs. California judge issued a temporary restraining order halting the Trump administration in its plans to lay off thousands of federal workers during the on-government shutdown. They actually wanted to fire people. A judge has stopped that. Of course, they're going to appeal it, and we will see where that goes. But the courts have been the only stumbling block to Trump so far. And the Democrats are also ramping up their pressure on why the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is not sworn in Adelita Grajalva, who has been elected to fulfill the term of her father. Congressman Gravalka, who passed. And the reason that Johnson is stalling is because Johnson knows that if she takes her seat, if Adelita becomes the sworn in, she becomes the deciding vote to release the Epstein stuff, and they are trying everything not to release it. One has to only ask then, why are you afraid to release it? Because you know that it must implicate him, the president, or someone close to him. And they are bending over backwards to stop that. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the question of the shutdown. We're going to talk about how the grand jury is meeting today to deal with the question of indicting John Bolton, the former national security advisor. So let's talk about all these issues. Let me also say, as we wind down toward Friday, this special on MSNBC, special documentary on Andrew Young. And I was in Atlanta at Clark University with Ambassador Young and Rachel Maddow night before last. I think that, and this is a good question that we need to raise, do we in the black community give enough regard and respect to our elders? I think that we've gotten persuaded, seduced by other cultures that we want to kick our elders to the curb. Whereas if they had kicked us to the curb, we wouldn't be doing what we do today. So when I see Andy Young finally getting a documentary, I'll travel anywhere to promote that. Talk about his contribution. That's why I've been loyal to my own mentors and teachers, Reverend Jesse Jackson and others. This habit of condemning and dismissing and walking away from our elders needs to stop. So I want to talk about it. Let's talk about the shutdown. Let's talk about, do we treat our elders right? And let's talk about this whole question of course, the shutdown. So a lot to talk about, a lot on the table today. Also, we want to discuss how there's dealing with this voting district crisis, the crisis of voting, and the district lines they're drawing to try to dilute black strength. They argued it yesterday at the Supreme Court, and it seemed from the questions after they're leaning toward taking out Section 2. If they take out Section 2, that means race cannot be a factor in drawing lines, which means they can draw right around our communities, cut down on the number of congressional seats and other seats, and leave you with one black seat, which doesn't give you the numbers you need to be a big part of the caucus, Democratic caucus or Republican caucus. So let's talk about all of that. Today, 30 years ago, was the Million Man March in Washington, D.C. I was honored to be one of the speakers at that march. One of the things that was interesting to me is that we have a way of sanitizing history. 1963, there was a lot of infighting. April Randolph called a march. They didn't want Dr. King keynote, put him up late, and he ended up with a historic speech. In 95, Million Man March was a different march. 63 was a civil rights march. Let's be real clear. It was around civil rights legislation. It led to rallying people for the Civil Rights Act of 64 and the Voting Rights Act of 65. Million Man March was about atonement, about us dealing with our own behavior toward each other and toward ourselves. It was not about legislation, it was about us. And Minister Louis Farrakhan called it, many of us, me included, wanted to add some policy to it. And he said, fine, y'all can do that as long as we do not get away from atonement. And I spoke that day, I mentioned Newt Gingrich, and I mentioned average white men who had voted in this conservative angle, and we need some enlightened black men. Well, 30 years later, I think we need some atoning again, and we need some legislation. The irony is that the two marches, historic marches, and there have been others, but let's focus on those. They both had stated goals. Do we need to get back to those goals today? We just had the big march on Wall Street. Do we need to get back to the focus of legislation and of atoning and dealing with our behavior? So it's not either or. I hear people talk about, I don't know if you were Malcolm or Martin. Well, I came up out of Martin, but we need some of both. But what is so disturbing is that most of us are not with either in terms of what we do. So let's talk about all of this and talk about, do we need to recommit to the objectives of the Civil Rights March of '63 and the Million Man March of '95? Let's take a break. I'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed, I mean really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping.
Thank you. Well, they said that we couldn't do it, but all the world can see that when we come together, when we rise above our differences, we can come and show an effort that no one can stop. Let us first salute Minister Louis Farrakhan for making a call that reached all of us and has shaken the world. Let me say this. When we hear the word today, when we leave here this evening, we are not leaving having had just a rally. We're going home to do some work. You think you see a crowd now, wait till we go home and get our sisters. You think you've seen something now, wait till we go home and get our mothers. The political story of '94 was the angry white man voted in a new Congress. Well, get ready, America, for the story of '96, when the enlightened black man brings in a new Congress. It's time for Mr. Gingrich and the angry white man who are angry at the wrong people. We are doubly unemployed. Why are you angry at us? Our icons are being demoralized. Why are you angry at us? So let the angry white man meet the enlightened black man that will join hands with other enlightened people and bring us another way. In '63, we had to march across the Red Sea, Reverend Wilson. Well, in '95, we are headed to the Jordan. We don't have to backtrack. We can go forward. And why are you so surprised we're here? Did you think that we would continue to watch our images put down? Look at what they did to people people from Michael Jackson all the way across the board that just because they were people of color were desecrated and demoralized. Well, now we've learned if we hold each other's hands, we can take care of our own Michael Jacksons. We can take care of our own young men. You see the brothers here, but what about the hundreds of thousands behind bars that couldn't come here? We got to stand up and free them too. OJ is home, but Mumi Abu Jamal ain't home. And we won't stop till all of our people that need a chance in an awkward and unbalanced criminal justice system can come home. I end by saying this. 1988, there was a preacher that ran for president named Pat Robertson. He got 2 million votes. There were those young people and ministers and others that took those 2 million votes and in 94 took America. Well, in 88, Jesse Jackson got 7 million votes. And his younger brothers and younger cousins can transform that with the energy given and mobilization given by Minister Farrakhan and others in leadership. And we can change 96. We can straighten out tricks in 96. We can straighten out tricks in 96 if we come alive in 95. So we join the minister. We join black men and black women and our leaders all over America saying, stand up, black man. I know it's hard to stand when you've been shackled, but stand up, black man. I know it's hard to stand when you've been beaten and bruised, but stand up, black man. Let your children, let your daughters, let them all over the world see us stand up together. We all live on one block. We may have different houses, but it's all the same block. Elijah Muhammad's house is on that block. Martin Luther King's house is on that block. Malana Karanga's house is on that block. But let me tell you something, when you set the block on fire, I don't have time to look at other houses' videos. It's time for all of us to come out together and save the block of black folk in America. Some of us will stand up and fight. Some of us won't switch. Some of us won't buckle or bow. As James Brown said, some of us rather die on our feet than live on our knees. Thank you and God bless you. Church, I want to present to you a man of God, a man of his community, the Reverend Howard Hundley. Together. Yes, I am. Trouble don't last always. I'm so glad. Yes, I am. Trouble don't last always. Can I get a witness? I'm so glad. Trouble don't last always.
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Let's go back to the phone. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin. You know, every day, Monday through Friday, I do 3 hours a day on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. I do 1 hour on Sunday mornings with Reverend Al Sharpton. And I'm live on radio and TV with the Saturday Action Rally. 7 days a week, I talk to our people. hear from them, to call in. I'm sick and tired of people talking for people that they don't talk to. So go on www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Listen to my show, call in, express your opinion. You don't have to agree with me. But let's start talking to each other rather than about each other and lecturing at each other. Let's keep it real with Sharpton. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. We're talking about the shutdown. We're talking about the whole question of voting rights. The Supreme Court is shooting down, it appears. We're talking about whether there's really going to be peace in the Middle East. Talking about the 30th anniversary of the March on Washington. Some of you that are old enough can call and reminisce. I just played, for those that are following us on YouTube, my speech at the Million Man March, where I talked about criminal justice reform, death penalty, and criminal justice reform, as I said, and ending the contract with America, call for enlightened black men. Others dealt with atonement, which was the theme of the day. And I think I'd be interested. Call me at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. That the meaning and the purpose of the 63 March and the 95 March, different purposes, but do we need to return to them now? One was about civil rights and voting rights. Other was about atonement and correcting ourselves in our community. What do you have to say 30 years later and 62 years later? Where we are. If you don't chart where we come from, you're going to bound to make mistakes. And you're also bound to underappreciate what needs to be done. So let's get some calls in. 1-877-532-5797. I know that some of you out there may have even been to the Million Man March. And maybe some is old enough to have been to the 63 March. I was only 9 in 63, but I've held 5 commemorations of the 63 March on Washington. But I spoke at the one in 95, which I showed the tape. And some of you are old enough to have been to the Million Man March. And 30 years later, let's look and talk about it. And I think Real Talk 76 is saying on the message board, the Voting Rights Act being gutted is part of a re-migration of great replacement theory. I agree with that. And I think that we need to all look at that. I have here at the office my senior advisor, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Reverend Marshall, first of all, I don't think you were old enough to go to the Million Man March.
I was there. I actually, I attended. I boarded a bus at the St. Paul Community Baptist Church when Reverend Dr. Johnny Ray Youngblood was the pastor. I was 10 years old, but I was there.
What do you think of the goals of the 63 March, which you weren't even born yet, and I was only 9 years old, and the goals of the Million Man March 30 years ago, and where we are with the civil rights, voting rights that was demanded in 63 and 65, And it got results. We did get those bills, and they've lasted for decades. And in '95, where the goal was atoning ourselves, have we gone backwards in the community in our own behavior, in our own addressing our families and situations like that?
I think in many ways we have gone back. I think I can speak for my generation, many of which was not at either march by default, by age and or 30 years ago they just wasn't able to go. We have forgotten the tenants and the lieutenants of the time who led both of those historic and monumental events. I remember the Million Man March gave us a sense of pride and responsibility and respect, self-respect, as humans, as black men. Going back home, there was a different sense. I know in Brooklyn, where I grew up and lived at the time, there was a different pride on how we treated our women, how we treated our children, how we really protected the community as it pertains to gun violence and violence in general. I think the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act obviously has been under attack for the last, since it was signed into law. I think it's been under attack. And definitely in this administration, the goal to roll it back is more prevalent and evident now than ever. So I think both of those events have significance, and I think we definitely need to have a reatonement and a sobering to what's happening in our country today in our communities.
1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. While we lining up your calls, don't forget, watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MSNBC, Saturday and Sunday. I'll be on both days live. I'm certainly going to deal with the updates, the latest on the shutdown. I'm going to deal with whether or not the Middle East, the ceasefire is a Band-Aid or a healing. I'm going to have on members of the Senate and the Congress. I'm also going to deal with the question of the voting rights, since it is in front of the Supreme Court right now. Make sure you tune in and tell somebody, everybody, that you can. Watch Politics Nation this weekend. Saturday is also the No More King March. I'm going to have some people live from the march tell us what's going on and why. And then on Sunday, I'm going to be live from Chicago, and I'm definitely going to be dealing with the deportation issue and other matters. So check out Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live Saturday and Sunday on MSNBC at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. But before I go anywhere, I will be at the Saturday Action Rally in Harlem. And I want you to meet me there that are in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut vicinity, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the House of Justice, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue. And make sure you're there. If you cannot be there, or if you're in other parts of the country and can't get to New York, watch it live on Impact Television or at live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net. Live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net. One of the things that interested me is in the 30th anniversary, Reverend Marshall, that a lot of the culture in our community changed. We've gone to deriding and profane analysis of our women. We've gone to a lot of romanticizing street life, and the whole idea of family responsibility and atonement seems to have gone away from us. So you have on one side the right wing trying to kill the principles of the march in '63 with voting rights, even argued this week at the Supreme Court, and civil rights. And on the 95 side, some of the goals of that, atoning and family and building the right behavior in our community, we're killing ourselves. And I think that is a challenge both for what we need to be dealing with in society and what we need to deal with in our community.
I agree. I think historically circumstances brings on a level of consciousness that we have not seen, like we've seen 30 years ago, and obviously from the '63 march. The degradation of black women in particular is astounding, and something you raised earlier took me back to how do we honor those that came before us, and I'm not even mentioning the major figures in our lives. I'm talking about those who we walk past, the crossing guard, the maintenance worker at the local school. It is when we see, especially in urban areas in New York and other places around the country, elderly women can be sexually assaulted, right? We're talking about people being robbed and children being snatched, not by ICE, but abductions in our neighborhood, which is not talked about, sex trafficking, etc. There is a loss of self-respect, value, and like you said, responsibility of family. I remember growing up, you couldn't just do anything on any block in Brooklyn, New York. There were not these romanticized street codes of violence, but you couldn't do it. You had to respect the neighborhood.
All right, let's take our break. We'll be right back. More of you on the phones and on our message board. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton. Keeping it real. Be right back. Dallas.
Tony Wafer, Los Angeles chapter, NASDAQ Network. He just came in here to New York a couple days ago, had to stop by the House of Justice, and I sure enough found some justice, so I know I can leave here feeling like I got peace.
And I think that is extremely important about the funding. But I also want to add how they're changing what can be taught. You have states outright saying you can't teach black history and you can't teach certain other histories and the curriculum. You have this administration that is literally taking out exhibits from the Smithsonian. So we have not only an education problem in terms of resources, we have an education problem in terms of curriculum and what people are being taught. So I have one grandchild, 6-year-old. When he gets to high school, it may be just against the law for him to learn about certain parts of American history, which includes blacks. We want to talk about slavery. We want to talk about the good side of America. Well, what does that mean? That's not history. Everything was not good. And I think that that is the threat that we've got to fight, which is why we've got to fight in the courts and the streets, because they are literally changing the textbooks as we go. As they do that, they change the opportunities, because then the fight against affirmative action is not having access to these institutions and telling these institutions, this whole fight around DEI, in which they did DEI, started in Harvard with a black woman president. Started with them saying you can't teach diversity in an Ivy League school like Harvard. It didn't start in Little Rock at the high school. This fight, this time, was Harvard. And they went from there on. And I think that we've got to have the same resistance. If they could fight in the 50s, that ACP would have been formed together and deal with the question from Little Rock in terms of desegregation, then we that are far more educated, far more economically secure personally, have no excuse in the age of what they did in Harvard not to be standing up back in this. Do I seem excited? I am excited because this Saturday, the National Action Network Saturday Action Rally starts live on WBLS 107.5 FM in New York. We're going to expand. Every Saturday morning, we're live on WBLS 107.5 from 10 a.m. to 11. You'll hear the message. You'll feel the energy. You'll be involved. You won't be sitting around talking about, oh my God, look at what's happening. You'll be involved in dealing with what's happening. I'm excited, and you should be excited too. Turn on WBLS 10 a.m. every Saturday morning. I have a message for you. And if you want to, you can come to the House of Justice and be there live. 145th Street and Lenox Avenue. We kick off at 9, and we don't stop until we deal with getting our people energized.
We have a young man in the studio who I think is an astounding young brother because of his youth. He's only 19 years old and he's accomplished a lot, and he's here to make a presentation to James Brown, and we'd like to welcome him warmly. His name is Al Sharpton. How about it for Al Sharpton? Al is the national director of the National Youth Movement Incorporated. Right, Al?
That's right.
And what do we have here?
Well, we come to break tradition. We know that in the recording industry that they give a gold record to those that achieve a million seller. But we view your million seller payback as a black record because it is relevant and says many of the things that young blacks have tried to say and could not musically express in our own little way. And we feel the payback is sort of like the theme song of Young Black America in 1974. Yeah.
I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we are having trouble with the hotline, so our callers call the hotline number, area code 972-331-5547, area code 972-331-5547, and we can put you on the air that way till we correct the regular number, area code 972 331-5547. On our message board, a lot of people are responding. Bruce Turner says, "Baby, we have been surviving all our lives. This is not the first time we had to fight. These young folks are in for the shock of their lives. I bet they listened to us then." I think that's right. If you're going to be a fighter, you better talk to folks that fight. And I think that is, in my opinion, what is critical now. Because a lot of us, I put it this way. I've been blessed in life to be around some of the heavyweight champions, the best of all time. And when I was close with Muhammad Ali, when I was close with Mike Tyson, nobody ever fought a fight without looking at films and looking at the videos of past fighters. How do you learn to be a champion? You learn from watching older champions before you. And I think that is exactly right, that what you're saying on the message board, Bruce, because you are correct. Rodney Jones is saying, anytime I listen to JB saying, I got that feeling, that's helpful. Okay, I'm taking your calls, area code 972-331-5547. Let me go to CJ in Washington, D.C. CJ, you're keeping it real on Al Sharpton.
Reverend Al.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, my brother? Always bringing you love from Union Temple Baptist Church.
Okay.
We're under the guidance of Willie F. Wilson.
Yeah.
Brother, I was hoping that you was going to hit the stage this weekend at the Unifest and the Million Man March celebration that Willie Wilson is putting on, as you did at the Million Man March so gracefully, brother.
I don't know anything about it. But you talking about this coming weekend or past weekend?
This weekend coming. Are you serious? You don't know nothing about it?
This first I'm hearing about it. I'll be in Chicago though with Reverend Jackson and them on this weekend.
Man, then somebody done caused a grave sin not to contact you, brother, and let you know, because I know where you stand when it comes to our people, and you made it clear. You might not agree with Minister Farrakhan on issues, but he is your friend. And it's sad because I was hoping to hear you hit that stage and come and tell how important it is to register to vote.
Yeah.
And if you're unsatisfied with the voting system, then we can do what the Jews do. We can begin to put our votes in blocks to get our demands met. If they want those votes, they meet those demands. That's what the Jews do, and many other ethnic groups as the Jews are doing to get things that they want in their community.
And let me tell you something, CJ, that's very profound about what you're saying. Those communities don't agree on everything. You've got conservative Jews, liberal Jews, those that are for Palestinian rights, those that want one nation, but they come together as a block for our interests, and that's how we worked with Minister Farrakhan 30 years ago. We may not agree on tactics or even some of how we worship and believe, but we believed that we needed to come together and atone together and work together. And I think that we need that now more than ever. We are back under the same vicious attack. You're absolutely right.
And look here, brother, and the point that's being lost, the most crucial one, because they say the mother is the first teacher of the child, okay? And the most crucial one that's being missed is that the Million Women March that was October the 25th, 97, that's 28 years anniversary for them. And when they were marching in Philadelphia, brother, and they were packed the streets up there, they was walking through the streets saying, we are at war.
Right.
So we need to we need to gain that concept. I ain't talking about bloodshed.
Right.
I'm talking about the war that's being made on us by this administration right now. Clear message that we, like Michael Jackson say, they don't care about us. So right now we need that concept of the women to correlate and connect to the Million Man March so we can begin to do some constructive Martin Luther King kind of protests and concepts with nonviolence at the root of it, but be ready to shut some of these businesses down like you did with Target and start messing with that money. And whatever we got to do, when you got 300,000 black women that have been fired and threw away like trash by this administration, all the sacrifice they put in to build this government up on those jobs, squeezing and stuffing in that subway every morning through rain, sleet, and snow, and they do not deserve what they're getting right now. And now you shut down the government, you bring in these FBI and agents in our communities that they could have been found guilty when Joe Madison and Dick Gregory exposed the FBI and the CIA of bringing cracks and cocaine and drugs into the community. Now they come in our community, and there was no indictments, nobody was charged, and now you want us to respect them coming in to try to put us under some type of control. We know we have an internal problem with our youth, and we're going to get to that.
And we need to. Real Talk 76 says on our message page, Jewish community is just that, a community. They even pay for collective life insurance policies on the matriarch and patriarchs and circulate among the families. We can learn from that model. And that's what you're saying, CJ. Thank you for your call. And that's what we need to do. I think it is interesting that they get a lot of us divided on stuff that don't matter. I tell a lot of the younger activists that are in National Action Network or in other organizations that one of the things they do is come in and right away, we need to make y'all out there, the progressives, quote progressives. And I always say progressive for who? Progressive, I want to know whose progress are you for? Well, no, y'all need to deal with some of the young leadership, not the old guard. Well, y'all don't say that in the white community. The leaders of the progressive movement is 83 years old, Bernie Sanders. So, I mean, why do young blacks got to disrespect older blacks, but young whites can hold up Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, all them much older than me? But we have been tricked since slavery to be divided. And that's why it was important that all of us had come together 30 years ago, despite our differences. Second, it's important that as we come together, we have those laws in place and the protection of those laws like we did in 63. And I think that that is critical. Cedric Cooper saying on our message board, when preachers and prophetic others are silenced about social justice, God baptized the lips of R&B singers like Marvin Gaye to say what's going on, and Teddy Pendergrass to say wake up everybody. I agree with that. Somewhere in the Bible I read that if you will not speak out, God will make the rocks cry out. And I think that is absolutely what happened when some got silent. Some of the R&B singers came out and really, from James Brown, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, to Aretha Respect, to all of that went on in that era. And then they tricked some of our young artists today to use their art and their brilliance to denigrate and desecrate our community. And when you try to talk to them, they act like we the enemy. But when they get in trouble, they want us to support them and go to court on their behalf. So let's use this day as a day of reflection and correction. And I'm serious about that because let me tell you something, these people are serious. and we've got to be serious to fight them. All right, call me today on area code 972-331-5547, area code 972-331-5547. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. Keeping it real.
They said that we couldn't do it, but all the world can see that when we come together, when we rise above our differences, we can come and show an effort that no one can stop. Let us first salute Minister Louis Farrakhan for making a call that reached all of us and has shaken the world. Let me say this. When we hear the word today, when we leave here this evening, we are not leaving having had just a rally. We're going home to do some work. You think you see a crowd now, wait till we go home and get our sisters. You think you've seen something now, wait till we go home and get our mothers. The political story of '94 was the angry white man voted in a new Congress. Well, get ready, America, for the story of '96 when the enlightened black man brings in a new Congress. It's time for Mr. Gingrich and the angry white man who are angry at the wrong people. We are doubly unemployed. Why are you angry at us? Our icons are being demoralized. Why are you angry at us? So let the angry white man meet the enlightened black man that will join hands with other enlightened people and bring us another way. In '63, we had to march across the Red Sea, Reverend Wilson. Well, in '95, we are headed to the Jordan. We don't have to backtrack. We can go forward. And why are you so surprised we're here? Did you think that we would continue to watch our images put down? Look at what they did to people from Michael Jackson all the way across the board. That just because they were people of color were desecrated and demoralized. Well, now we've learned if we hold each other's hands, we can take care of our own Michael Jacksons. We can take care of our own young men. You see the brothers here, but what about the hundreds of thousands behind bars that couldn't come here? We got to stand up and free them too. OJ is home, but Mumi Abu Jamal ain't home. And we won't stop till all of our people that need a chance in an awkward and unbalanced criminal justice system can come home. I end by saying this. 1988, there was a preacher that ran for president named Pat Robertson. He got 2 million votes. There were those young people and ministers and others that took those 2 million votes and in 94 took America. Well, in 88, Jesse Jackson got 7 million votes. And his younger brothers and younger cousins can transform that with the energy given and mobilization given by Minister Farrakhan and others in leadership. And we can change 96. We can straighten out tricks in 96. We can straighten out tricks in 96 if we come alive in 95. So we join the minister. We join black men and black women and our leaders all over America saying, stand up, black man. I know it's hard to stand when you've been shackled, but stand up, black man. I know it's hard to stand when you've been beaten and bruised, but stand up, black man. Let your children, let your daughters, let them all over the world see us stand up together. We all live on one block. We may have different houses, but it's all the same block. Elijah Muhammad's house is on that block. Martin Luther King's house is on that block. Malana Karanga's house is on that block. But let me tell you something, when you set the block on fire, I don't have time to look at other houses' videos. It's time for all of us to come out together and save the block of black folk in America. Some of us will stand up and fight. Some of us won't switch. Some of us won't buckle or bow. As James Brown said, some of us rather die on our feet than live on our knees. Thank you and God bless you. 62 years ago today, Martin marched in Washington. 62 years later, the dream is not dead.
I'm here because I must be here. Democracy is not there for the pig, and you have to fight for democracy. That's what it is. What Trump will erase, we will replace.
It's the dreamers in many cases have reversed and tried to turn it into a nightmare. We come to Wall Street rather than Washington this year to let them know you can try to turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street. No just stand slow. No just stand slow. No just stand slow. What do we want? What do we want?
We are the sons and the daughters. We gotta stand up and make it loud. Just like our God told the Pharaoh, let my people go, go. We are a new generation from the ones who have come before. He's calling us into freedom, let my people go, go. We gonna shine and we shade. Give me a papa God rain, make the heavens. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. The blood, sweat, and the tears that we gathered through the years. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. Wade in the water, we did wade in the water, children.
Hey, what's up? They got, they're doing, thank you. They're doing, what's on your mind?
Yeah.
All right, then, oh, you got a birthday this week. I got to talk about that.
Oh, no.
Happy birthday
Please.
this weekend. And Carrie White's birthday, right?
Corey's birthday's today.
Yeah, and I got to tell Reverend Birthday ready Daniel 5th chapter. I want him to read. And I'm ready. I got a message from him today, so we'll be on the air in what? Half hour.
Half hour.
You should tune in to WBLS 107.5 FM and National Impact and www.nationalnetwork.net. All right, I'm ready. Make sure you operate on time.
Tennessee State University leaders who all want to thank you for being our civil rights leader.
The Attorney General of Black America, Ben Crump.
Commitment to justice.
And I'm probably going to need your help on this legal fight. You know, they shorted the historically black colleges and universities to the tune of about $13 billion, and Tennessee State was the one they shorted the most.
Absolutely. Well, let me know. I'm on the next plane as soon as you holler. You know, when Ben Crump called, I don't even question it. I just head to the airport and get the details on the way.
Live from the National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. Keeping it real. And now, America's #1 civil rights leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
You're live, Rev.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and today our hotline is area code 972-331-5547. Taking your calls at area code 972-331-5547. And I think that all of us need to in many ways engage today because a lot is at stake. We see that every day. I see Mayor Rodney Jones on the message board saying all the mayoral candidates, these are New York mayoral candidates because people all over the country got different candidates, were invited to the march on Wall Street, and Mandani was the only one that showed up. He spoke at Nan's Triumph Awards, and he's been to Nan. I'm a witness. And I guess they're talking about the issues around the Democratic, well, not the Democrats, it's past the primaries now. It's the general election. I know they're having a debate tonight. And I think it is going to be interesting. We're going to be watching all of these. Let's go to Special K in Cincinnati, Ohio on the hotline, using our temporary line today. Special K.
Hi, Reverend Al Sharpton. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I have one of those make it make sense questions.
All right.
If the border is supposedly closed, and it's been closed for the last 9 or 10 months, so there's no illegal aliens coming in, and they're rounding up all of the so-called illegal aliens within the United States, then this talking point about illegal aliens getting health care, who are they referring to?
You know, that's a great question, because if they have, and this is what Trump says out of his own mouth, close the borders, and if they have taken out with the ICE folks, the illegal immigrants, then who could be using all this? I think you're right, and I think that the fact is that by law, illegal immigrants can't take Medicare and Medicaid. So, I mean, it's an erroneous point, but even if they believe that, it was crazy. So I think very good point, very good point.
Their talking point simply makes no sense. Now, these people that they're rounding up and putting in these detention centers, they have to provide them with health care.
Right.
So they're the ones that's giving them health care. Free.
They're giving it to them free? but it's not free to us. It's on our
No.
It's on our tax dollars, which
right,
is
just like prisoners. We pay health care for people to be in prison.
right.
They get it free, but we're paying for it.
No doubt about it. And see, I think that, and I love that special case of thinking. We got to be able to think through the maze that they try to put up there, because what they're saying is ridiculous. When you've got,
it doesn't make sense.
Let me give you an example, Special K. Trump says that he's going to increase the percentage of the tariffs with China to 100, one time said 125%. China stopped buying soybeans from farmers here in the United States. Trump at the same time sent millions of dollars to bail out Argentina. Argentina said thank you very much and started selling their soybeans to China, where China used to buy them from the farmers here. But the farmers they were buying them from were the farmers that voted for Donald Trump. I mean, it just doesn't even make sense. He's crippling his own supporters who are being sidestepped now. And now they're complaining. They got, what do they call it, buyer's remorse. They are now complaining because they're going broke. Unemployment is going through the roof with black folks, but it's going up for whites. The stock market's unstable. He is not good for them.
And there's no such thing as a democratic program.
Right. Right.
It's been, you know how they say a lot of black women checked out when Trump got elected? I'm one of those black women, but I pay attention. I don't have my head in the ground. I just refuse to put this drama, this chaos on my plate. I don't have room for it.
And
but
I
you
think
have to sit back sometimes and say make it make sense.
And I think that's some advice all of us ought to take. Thank you for your call. And I've gotten to the stage, and I suppose age in my life, where I'm just like you. I sit back, and if it don't make sense, I try to just tell people that just don't make sense. And make it make sense and call me back. For then, it doesn't make sense. 972-331-5547, 972-331-5547. You can get on the air at that number today. We are repairing our regular hotline. And I think that a lot of people on the message board are on fire. The mayor's back on. Rodney Jones saying we'll watch the NYC mayoral debate tonight. Real Talk 76 says Argentina is the test case for the re-migration theory they did in the 1900s. Also, Bessent's Treasury Secretary, has his friends that invested in Argentina and stand to lose money. Okay, Real Talk, you on top of it. And I think that it is very important, even this blatant situation where Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, will not swear in a duly elected member of Congress. They had a special election. Member of Congress was selected by the voters, and he won't swear them in. We on recess? This, that, the other. Where he's swearing in two others, Republicans, at a time they were on break. But there are different rules now where this Democratic woman was elected. In fact, she was elected in a special election to succeed her father's seat, Adelita Grijalva. And Grijalva is sitting around, having won the election. He won't put her in. Why? Because they need one more Democratic vote on that committee, which she would be on, and they could then mandate all of the Epstein files. they're bending over backwards to not have all those files come out. What's on them files, I don't know. But apparently they do. And that's why they're scared. Let's go to Sonia in Harlem. Sonia, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton. Is Sonia there?
Hello, Al. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm Tanya, and I also live in Harlem myself. And I want to say thank you for bringing all of this, to the truth of what's going on. Because if we didn't get any of all the rest of this, us black people would have been totally, wouldn't get no information. But you and other out there, you're doing a wonderful job, and I thank you so much for what you're doing. And I really had to say, thank God that we have you.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And thank you for
Okay,
your call.
hold on. There's someone else that I have right next to me, my sister.
Hi, beloved brother Al Sharpton. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. I'm blessed. I just want to say, I want to wish you a happy belated birthday. Blessings to you and your family. And thank you so much. I'm the niece of Gwen Carr.
Oh.
My cousin was Eric Gardner.
Yeah.
Yes. She always spoke so highly of you.
Yeah, that's
and
a great
I just want to
person.
thank you.
Well,
Yes,
thank you.
I want to thank you for being there for our family always, and we beyond grateful for your help and your service, everything.
Well, I
everything.
appreciate
May
it.
God continue to bless you and your family.
Well,
Thank
I
you
appreciate
so
that.
much.
I really do. God bless you, both of you, for calling in. Thank you, Sonia, for putting her on. Means a lot. People don't understand. You get a lot of criticism out there when you get somebody calling, praying for you. It don't get no better than that for me. Prayer changes things. I believe it. I live it. And I appreciate those that keep me in their prayer. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. More of you on the phones and more of you on the message board. We're going to be right back. A lot to talk about today. So get in line. Line up them calls on the temporary number 972-331-5547. 972-331-5547. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back. Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on. I would argue that DEI is a result of those that by law and later by enforcement would not deal with diversity, would not deal with including people of color, gender, sexual orientation, as well as disabled. And the conscious effort by government and the private sector to begin to equalize the opportunities of this country was something that makes it more humane and fair for all of us. To DEI, diversify, is not based on the lack of merit. We could not show our merit because we were pompous conservatives that talk about we want a society based on merit. Well then, if it's based on merit, then why did you discriminate based on race and gender? Until they cut off much of the population and then had merit between white males. That was what they meant, not merit. Let's have real merit, but let's also make up the ground that those of us with merit was not able to compete. I had a thought this morning that I wanted to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talents in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me for the other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones. And too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they got to open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters, who both have come into their own, or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's my job to invest and give them a platform. It's their job to get on the platform and perform and show their ability. Sitting with me today in the office as I talk about it is one of my mentees, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Now, Stephen, you just came around us when you were how old?
11 years old.
11 years old. You just turned 40 and now you're called to the ministry?
Yes, sir.
And what do you do in National Action Network?
I formulate policies, lead in various regions, but most importantly, I senior advise you on all things from social justice strategies, politics, intergovernmental affairs, you name it, community organizing, all of that stuff.
And I could go through scores of others. My daughter started Huddle. They got Huddles now, which is for young people to meet once a week all over the country. I just saw the video from the Las Vegas National Action Network chapter. Now, when you decided to preach, did I ever tell you to become a preacher?
Not one time.
Who called you to preach?
The Lord.
All right. And did I say go to this school or that school?
No, sir.
Did I open this door, that door? Did I tell you be ready when the doors open?
Always be ready and prepared.
And that's what I'm saying. Get you some young people than you that you can help along the way. but don't be their talent agent. Their talent must speak for themselves. And anybody that grumbles with you about so-and-so didn't do something for them, maybe it's because they didn't feel you were ready, or that they felt if they did it, you wouldn't do it on your own. But we all don't live forever. I want the next generation to speak of me, of National Action Network, and others, the way I speak of Reverend Jones and Bishop Washington and Shirley Chisholm and Reverend Jackson. But I just don't want young people to feel that somebody ought to give them the reins of leadership or give them the reins of business or whatever it is you're in. You need to learn from their journey, get the pearls of wisdom from them, but don't have them do for you, because then it means you can't do it for yourself.
Come on.
We reduced a lot of our ministry to entertainment. Or who can hoop the loudest, who can run around the pulpit more, or who's got the dresses fancy, and don't deal with the ministry. Jesus healed more people than he preached to. Because there is in the healing your message. They followed Jesus because he healed a woman with the issue of blood. They followed Jesus because Jesus saw blind men. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we have a special live line today while they repair another line. Make sure you call in and be heard. 877-331-5547, 877-331-5547. That's just for today. And we want you to be heard. Evangelist Ramsey says on our message page, good afternoon, Rev. The other message board platform is passing all my hits, so I switch channels and phones. Keep doing what you do for Jesus and the community and abroad the country. You have inspired me. You call me extraordinary activist evangelist, LOL. Well, that's exactly what you are, an extraordinary evangelist activist. And I've been preaching in the church since I was 4 preaching, and since I was 12 in civil rights. I know prophetic social activists when I see them. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Leon in Dallas, Texas. Leon,
Jennifer Jones Austin, too.
You're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good afternoon, Reverend Al.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm really got a thorn in my side when I'm looking at this this thing going on in Louisiana with the Supreme Court. First thing I got to say is the African Americans have never done anything to Europeans in the history of history. Okay, we don't deserve being attacked. We built this country. We brought over here as slaves, and it seems like each generation there's a different attack on black people for no reason. Now, according to my historical knowledge, Japan tried to blow the United States off the map. Germany tried to blow the United States off the map. Yet the United States rebuilt both those countries. Africa has never done anything to America. Why are we being attacked? And I'm not so, how can I say it? I'm not so weak as to say that we don't deserve this. Okay? And this thing in Louisiana is pretty straightforward, if you ask me. Like sixth grade math. If African Americans are 30% of the population, and there are 6 seats in Congress from Louisiana, why are they saying that we're supposed to have only 1 seat when 30% of 6 is 2? And why are we sitting back, falling for these lies that say, oh, it's just political, it doesn't have anything to do with race, and we have a 400-year history? Okay. See, this gets on my nerves. Okay, because why are you attacking us? And then why aren't we down there in numbers supporting people like yourself, or down there on our own in numbers saying that we're going to be down here at this capital of Louisiana or Texas or wherever this stuff's taking place, and we're not leaving until we get fair treatment.
Right.
Now, the civil rights movement was about that. We stood, and they put dogs, fire hoses, and all this kind of stuff on us. Now, it's illegal to do that. All we got to do is stand. And yet, some of us feel like we're more afraid to stand now than those people were then. And that's why we're being mistreated like this, because we're not commanding respect.
And I couldn't have said it better. And I'll tell you something else, Leon, that you touched on, and that is that we accept this being treated like that. And we turn on each other rather than dealing with what was and is absolutely what is positive. I think that is absolutely correct. And we will, I mean, can you imagine? We are in the 21st century in a computerized world when now AI is telling everybody what they are thinking, and we still shopping from people that's against us. I mean, publicly saying I'm not for DI, but y'all shopping in my store. And when you have people that are coming up with concepts that would have a mass economic imprint, like you trying to do there in Dallas and others, and then we could link our own industry. We've been so tricked into a slave psychology, we can't even support ourselves. It ain't like we not buying toothpaste, we just won't buy it from us. We don't want black made manufactured shoes for $100. I want to pay $800 for some shoes that hurt my feet because they got a label in it. I mean, how sick is that? That's crazy. I tell a guy that I was at a hotel I was staying at, and I'll go down to work out like 5:15 in the mornings when I'm home or on the road. And the guy was saying to me, Red Mal, what brand of do you work out in? I said, what brand? I don't even look at the brand. I work out in my T-shirt. The object is me working out, being healthy. I'm not advertising a brand. Now, some people give me some brand stuff. I might wear it because it's just what you wear to the gym. But I mean, are you here to work out? Or are you here to advertise? What is are you working for them? What is the problem? And a lot of these people, we've been that psyched. That is bad. Well, thank you for your call. Let me bring in, we have, as we do every Thursday for the last 90 minutes of the show, it's Policy Week, Policy Day, and we have our policy expert, the one and only Vice Chairman of the Board of National Action Network, CEO of Protestant Welfare Agencies in New York, Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin. How you doing, Jenny?
I'm doing all right, doing okay today, all things considered, and as always, just honored to be with all of you.
Let me throw out at you what I've thrown out to our listeners today. Today is the 30th anniversary of the March on Washington. 62 years ago, we had Dr. King's, today is the 30th anniversary of the Million Man March. 62 years ago was the March on Washington, August 28th, that we went that day to Wall Street. One march was about public policy, legislation. It was in the middle of Newt Gingrich's contract with America Miller, Bill Clinton, and them with the omnibus crime bill. Many of us had disagreements on tactics and strategy. We didn't agree with everything with Minister Farrakhan. He didn't agree with everything with us, but we all came together, and he said, y'all talk policy. And I played the tape of my speech dealing with the angry white man. They talked about then the legislation, the death penalty. I talked about what they were doing to Michael Jackson and others. And they let us do that. And 63, it was everybody came together at that time, the civil rights community and labor, to talk about laws. And it did lead to the Civil Rights Act of 64, voting rights of 65. Here we are, 62 years after March on Washington, and they're taking away diversity, civil rights. They're taking away voting rights. Had the hearing this week on Section 2. And 30 years after the Million Man March, we run around calling ourselves the N-word and have removed any idea of atonement. I want you to give me your assets. I'm going to take the break and let you come back with it. Assess where we are. What were the meanings of the march, those two marches, and where we are today? And those two marches, I don't think conflict. I think they complement each other because we need external fights and internal redemption at the same time. Let's talk about it right after the break. And I'm taking your calls only for today.
Phone lines is back, actually.
Oh, okay. Our regular line is up. I'm sorry. You can call either line, but you can call our regular line, 877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. I know some of y'all got that number locked in your phones, so you can call a regular line. We're up and running, but I want to get Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin's assessment right after this break. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
We have a young man in the studio who I think is an astounding young brother because of his youth. He's only 19 years old, and he's accomplished a lot, and he's here to make a presentation to James Brown, and we'd like to welcome him warmly. His name is Al Sharpton. How about it for Al Sharpton? Al is the national director of the National Youth Movement Incorporated. Right, Al?
That's right.
And what do we have here?
Well, we come to break tradition. We know that in the recording industry that they give a gold record to those that achieve a million seller. But we view your million seller payback as a black record because it is relevant and says many of the things that young blacks have tried to say and could not musically express in our own little way. And we feel the payback is sort of like the theme song of Young Black America in 1974. Yeah.
Now, before you go into the title tune of your latest album, you have a special guest.
Yeah, I do have a special guest, a young lady.
That's going to perform with you?
Yeah, she's going to.
One, two, three, I got the feeling. Hey, baby, baby, I got the feeling. How I got that feeling, yeah. Hey, got that feeling, y'all. Come on. Feeling, baby. Oh, I got the feeling, y'all. Okay, you put your hands together. I got the feeling. Oh, won't you say, baby, baby, I got that. Thank you so much. My name is True Osborne. Humbled and honored.
All right. Some people report the news, others interpret it, but there are those who transform it into truth. Ari Melba has redefined journalism with intellect, creativity, and courage. He blends culture and current events, politics and poetry, truth and transparency. And in doing so, he reminds us that storytelling is a sacred work. Ari understands that our narratives shape our nation, and he has used his platform to highlight issues that matter to the people, not just to the powerful. Tonight, we honor him for bridging art and activism, for using his voice to educate, inspire, and empower. Join me, please, in celebrating Ari Melba, recipient of the President's Award of Historic Transformative Leadership.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. How are you guys doing? First of all, Babyface is 67 years old. We might need a fact check on that. What an honor to be up here with Rev and everyone else. When Rev started out, they said, he's just doing this to get on TV. Now he has a TV show. He kept along and they said, well, he's just setting himself up to run for office, be a politician. Now he has the politicians coming here to be accountable to you. We're celebrating his 71st birthday, God bless. I don't think he's planning to run for office in his late 70s or 80s, although people do that nowadays. I don't know if you've heard. So as far as I can tell, maybe he was doing it for the people. Maybe he was doing it for voting rights and human rights and being an advocate for people in communities where when bad things do happen, they don't have a local advocate or a federal advocate, or suddenly it doesn't feel like they have anyone who cares about what's happening to them. So it's funny, in the middle you can't always prove the case, but by this stage in his illustrious contributions to the United States, he's doing it for everyone. So shout out to Rev. I'm really honored to get this award. My grandmother was a refugee. My father's an immigrant. Like a lot of other people that I get to interact with, I'm very aware that my worst days are better than some of their best days. And so I keep that in mind, and I know Rev does and a lot of other people do. This award was called Leadership in the Arts. I'm honored by it. I love the arts. I won't say whether I've ascended to being a leader in the arts, but I will share with you the leaders I learned from. I learned civil rights from Sam Cooke. I learned about colonialism from Bob Marley. I learned about activism from Gil Scott-Heron. He said the revolution will not be televised. We're working on that. Rev and I are working on that. I learned about the media from KRS-One. I learned about politics from Public Enemy. I learned about police brutality from Tupac and about feminism from Lauryn Hill. So when I was growing up, I did okay in school, but I was quickly learning as a teenager there was all of these parts that weren't in the official story, but they were true. So yes, we try to reflect some of that in our reporting. In times like this right now in America, art and free speech are under attack. It's not just the historians, bless them. It's not just the normal newspaper reporters, bless them. It's also the comedians, from Kimmel to D.L. Hughley. It's also the artists who've seen the crackdown on people who sing.
You're live, Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host. Jenny, give me your historic perception perspective. Let me put it that way. On the 63 March, 95 March, and where we are now in terms of the goals of both marches.
So, what what I learned about the 1963 March, and I learned directly from my father and my mother, who were participants in the 1963 March. I learned a lot from my studies. I've learned a lot from you, especially as we commemorate the march every several years. That march focused on the systems and the structures that have created and perpetuated economic injustice, civil injustice, criminal injustice. They focused on the systems and the structures and the work that we needed to do as a people to make sure that the laws of this land were changed to really give us our fair and rightful place in this nation and in this society, to challenge the laws, the policies, the practices that are in place to keep us from actually getting ahead. What I remember about the 1995 march, and at that point I'm a grown woman. I'm newly married, and my husband and friends and his friends and my brother, they're all heading to the march. And I remember how proud I was, because it was a moment where black men were coming together, and they said that they were going to gather as a sign of solidarity and atoning for where they as a segment of our society, felt like they could have and should have done better for themselves and for their community, embracing more of their social responsibility to community, to family. And it was also supposed to be a showing of solidarity where they came together, peacefully assembled, and, seeing themselves as leaders in the community working together. If I'm remembering correctly, and I think I am, they accomplished that in the moment. And what we've seen in the years since, I think that we can we see that we have many today, maybe compared to 30 years ago. We've got more black men who are showing up in the community as strong, solid family men. Even if they're not married to the mothers of their children, they're engaged in very meaningful, impactful ways. We see community leaders. We see a lot more elected leaders. You just take like Hakeem Jeffries as an example. You take Jim Clyburn, people leading in high-profile places, like in significant leadership spaces. We see that. I do think that what we have to appreciate is that the Million Man March was essentially, building on the principles and values of the Nation of Islam, which center a lot on personal responsibility and, how you are to show up as an individual and for your family, self-sufficiency, personal responsibility, what is your role in your community. That's all critically important. I think there was, if I'm remembering correctly, a lot about racial pride. That's all very important. But what we have to do is that once you develop that sense of awareness, responsibility, self-sufficiency, you've now got to turn it up for your community. And so when I think about, today where we are, and I think about how only 78% of black men voted in the 2024 election for Kamala Harris, and how a lot of that was, when we talk to black men, a lot of that was seeded in black men, black women, divide. And could we have a black woman running the United States? Was she capable? And this belief that the white man might do a better job than the black woman. That's not really strengthening community. I'm just going to put it out there. I think when we look at, we still got some challenges around how black women are in many circles and spaces degraded. I mean, and I'm going to say this is not you, Reverend Sharpton, but, how some people celebrated, Diddy, getting off on the greater charges, but there was still some underlying harmful, convictions that really spoke a lot about the treatment of black women. And so I do think that some strides were made, but I do think that we have to remember that, Yeah, we need to keep showing up, atoning, and centering on self, but then it's got to be also for a purpose greater than ourselves. And we have to tie the personal, the social, the community to the big policies, the systems, and the structures.
Absolutely right. Let me go to the message board, and I'm coming back to the phones. I believe we had Ja Guide says, Million Man March, and although other marches didn't achieve nothing economically for black people, we still, the black consumers, black don't support each other. Well, I think the Million Man March stressed supporting black businesses. And I think a lot of black businesses benefited in the short term. I think we did not keep it. I agree with you there. And I think that the fact that, and I think you said it, Jenny, that there was a temporary bump, you can't blame that on those that called the march. You got to blame that on those that didn't follow through. Just like the 63 march led to our having voting rights and our having civil rights, which certainly economically helped us. The income level across the board was better. Therefore, we could shop in our own stores. We could demand that the big businesses and banks do business with our black-owned banks. We wouldn't have black billionaires today if it wasn't for the 63 march and what came out of it. The question is the follow-up. It's easy for us to sit back in future time and critique those that made it possible for you to even critique. It is amazing. So I think that the leaders of both, to me, should be given credit for inciting and inserting some things that was not happening in the present time, and we should keep up. Now, in terms of the 63 March and the King tradition, some of us have tried to keep that going. I come out that, I don't apologize for it. Some people were not with it then or now, and that's fine. I don't need everybody to do what I got to do. Let's go to Brenda in Virginia. Brenda, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton and Jennifer Jones Austin.
Hello, Rev. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And Jennifer Jones Austin, it is always good to hear your voice, sister. Always.
Oh, bless me.
Oh, yes, and you know who, Jennifer, you know this is Elijah's mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, first of all, Jennifer, let me say something. What you just said, you said it perfectly. Thank you for saying what you just said. You absolutely said that perfectly. And then Rev, even when you just talked about the follow-up and what happens when we do the march, and we're out there, but then yet, and we support for that short time, but then it falls off to the wayside, and that's exactly where we are today, and this is where I am truly. I hear a lot of. I heard someone say it earlier when I was listening on Rev. I'm just about being tired. We've been out here for on the campaign trail. I've been out here probably close to 50 years. Then on the civil rights trail, I've been out here for over 40 years. And I don't think people even understand what that looks like when, Jennifer, of course, Rev, absolutely, of course, and then out here on working for people in social justice and civil rights, and what that feels like, what that looks like, and how much it takes out of you. And, I want to, so I definitely wanted to say that, but what I really wanted to bring up, Rev, I know you talked earlier about the debate that's coming up tonight in New York, but Virginia is a bellwether state. We have a very important debate tonight. Attorney General, Republican, I call him Yairez, he is debating tonight with Jay Jones here in Virginia. When we're working in this field of civil rights, People got to understand the Attorney General for your state is the most important person.
That's correct.
That we have to work with.
That's correct.
And most people don't get that. I believe that the Attorney General position is actually more important in working in civil rights than it is the governor, because we have to depend on who is sitting in that seat. Yares, when he came in 4 years ago, he fired every a civil rights attorney that in that office. There was 36 attorney generals that he fired. We have no civil rights division in that office. People got to understand, if we don't have an attorney general that is going to support anything with civil rights, then we have nobody to turn to. We already know on the federal level, they dismantled the civil rights division. So you got to understand, that's going to be even harder work on us to be able to try to get done. When those children, over in Powhatan, Virginia, in which it went on YouTube, it was all over media, that was being discriminated against on a regular basis, and the teachers was not doing anything, called the N-word and everything else you can think of on a regular basis. And we went to those school board offices, school board meetings. They closed those school board meetings down, and then we ended up being in a high school, and then they wanted to shut us down. They actually wanted to take us out. But being able to stand up for those children that was in that meeting rail and saying that they was ready to die because of the discrimination they was facing.
Wow.
And you, yes.
So what time is the debate? What time is the debate in Virginia?
Well, the debate is tonight at 7 o'clock. I believe it's 7 o'clock.
All right. Got to go. Thank you for your call, and give my love to Elijah. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, Jones, Austin. Be right back.
Church, I want to present to you a man of God, a man of his community, the Reverend Howard Hundley. Together. Yes, I am. Trouble don't last always. I'm so glad. Yes, I am. Trouble don't last always. Can I get a witness? I'm so glad. Trouble don't last always.
What up, big brother? You good?
I'm talking about you all day on TV.
But the fact of the matter is, Rosa Parks was not only the mother of the modern civil rights movement, she was the mother of this nation. Why would you say that, Sharpton? Because you called George Washington the father of the nation, but when he became father, we wasn't included in the nation. Women were not included in the nation. The first time we had a parent in this nation is when all of us was included, and Rosa Parks did that on December 1st, 1955. I heard somebody say Jim Crow is who she fought, and Jim Crow is still around. But Jim Crow is old. That's not who I'm mindful of today. The problem is Jim Crow has sons. The one we got to battle is James Crow Jr. Esquire. He's a little more educated. He's a little slicker. He's a little more polished, but the results are the same. He doesn't put you in the back of the bus. He just puts referendums on the ballot to end affirmative action when you can't go to school. He doesn't call you a racial name. He just marginalizes your existence. He doesn't tell you that he's set against you. He sets up institutional racism, where you have a nation respond looking for weapons in Iraq that are not there, but can't see a hurricane in Louisiana that is there. James Crow Jr. Esquire. That's who we got to fight. And if we are to win, if we are to really memorialize Rosa Parks, she would tell us to do in the generation of his son what she and Dr. King did to his daddy. They didn't talk a fight, they fought the fight. They didn't show up at funerals, they showed up on the picket line and the march line and the jailhouse. It amazes me that we sit here acting like we don't have work to do. And that many of us in our own community are mocking her memory. They formed a movement when they had none of what we got. You realize that Dr. King and Dr. Abernathy and them formed a boycott after Rosa Parks, where people stayed off the bus for a year, went to rallies every night, and they never had email, never had a cell phone, never could go online. Here you got 2 cell phones in your pocket, emails, computers at the house, and can't even get a block association meeting together. We've got so much more that they gave us, and we're doing so much less with it. They went to vote when people were threatening their lives. Medgar Evers was shot dead in his driveway, left 3 children inside that never knew how it was to have a father in their adult years died to give us the right to vote. Pregnant women marched through the streets of Birmingham. They sick police dogs on them to give us the right to vote. 4 little girls bombed in a church in Birmingham, Alabama to give us the right to vote. And here you are 40 years later in Detroit, Michigan. No dogs biting you, no bombs going off, no bullets, too lazy and ungrateful. Making mockery of her memory. Making mockery of her memory. Nobody should have to beg you to vote. Nobody should have to beg you to stand up and protect the rights that they died and suffered to give us. You can't take care of one thing on the ballot in Michigan when they had to change the laws of all 50 states. You complaining about one referendum when they did a whole revolution and never fired one shot. And then you turn it around on each other. Why do I want my daughters to visit that stone? Because I want them to know black women are not hoes. You have music companies selling misogynist records to our children. Black womanhood was Rosa Parks sitting in dignity. She wasn't break dancing. She wasn't talking about pimp me out. She made the world respect her people. So I want to thank Reverend Jackson and Mrs. Jackson and others that taught us a little younger who Rosa was, and we got to pass that on. And I want to challenge everybody here today that when we leave here, you ought to make a Rosa resolution. You ought to make one commitment in her name to yourself. That you're going to either join some organization or you're going to stand for some policy. You ought to make a Rosa resolution. You ought to resolve that you're going to do something that'll make a difference because we're here because she made a difference. Most people come and go and we never come to say goodbye because their hellos didn't mean anything to us. But we're here because she touched every one of us. And we need to make a Rosa resolution. I said to some of the young rappers the other day talking to me about, well, you get on us about calling women out their names. I said you need to come and know the story of a dignified woman. They make the excuse, Mayor Kilpatrick said, well, you know, we love Aretha and that generation, but we just kick it like we see it. We just mirrors that reflect what we see. But there's something strange about that. I use a mirror every morning. But I don't get up out the bed, hair all over my head, sleep around my eyes, slobber around my mouth, walk outside talking about I'm going to keep it real. Mirrors are not only to reflect what you see, mirrors are to correct what you see. You need to make a Rosa resolution that we're going to correct what we see. We're going to keep the fight going. And we're going to have James Crow Jr. Esquire know that we are the children.
Al Sharpton, Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host. And let's go back to the phones. And you that are on the message board, I see y'all are trying to build up these likes and viewers, and do that. We talk about support and stuff. We don't do the simple support. Let's go to Will in Cleveland, Ohio, Attorney Jones Austin. Will, W-E-R-E, in Ohio, in Cleveland, Ohio. You're keeping it real with Sharpton and Jones Austin.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well.
I was just thinking, had a question. I don't know why a lot of these young black guys, want to be Republicans and support Trump and all this. I saw on TV yesterday that the young Republicans got trapped up some kind of way their message got out that they were putting on the internet, and it was all derogatory against blacks and everything, hating on blacks. And how did these guys like on CNN, Sharmichael and some more guys they put on there support Trump, and you see these people don't really like you. You're a young Republican, and your whole group, how do you stand next to people like that, and talk about Democrats and support Trump? And I mean, are you paying these guys, or what do you think it is? They're always talking about the Democrats are paying people. It seems like you would have to pay these people, these young black guys, to get on here and talk about Democrats and other blacks. And people around them are saying all kind of things about them. I mean, look at the guys Byron Donald. I think he's trying to run for governor of Florida. Then you got the other guy that used to be there standing, I forget his name, standing behind Trump, smiling all the time. He didn't put him in his cabinet. He didn't do nothing for him. He just
Tim Cook. Scott, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Tim Scott.
Tim Scott, yeah. That's what I'm saying. He was always there smiling and supporting him. And the guys like that, he just disappeared. They didn't do anything for him. So I'm saying, what is it that makes these guys?
Well, I think, and Jenny, you can weigh in on this. Thank you for your call, Will. I think that it's a combination of some of them seeking favor, want business contracts, want to swim against the tide to get attention. Some of them, I think, really believed that it's like an aggrieved person goes in a bad relationship or marriage, and when they hurt by one, they go and get somebody worse, thinking they're paying them back rather than making their own situation worse. So some are disappointed with the Democrats. So you go to somebody worse than the Democrats, where you just hurting yourself more than you are hurting the Democrats. And I think the third thing is that there is not enough mass education. Trump, the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that Trump stops by law, hurt more black Republicans than anybody because they're the ones getting these entrepreneurial contracts. And they're the ones that would be given jobs in a Republican administration. By in the DEI, they cannot even go saying, I want the diverse jobs. I want the contracts for diversity. And he's doing it in their face. And I just, for the life of me, don't understand why they don't understand that. So I'm saying they're either so hurt or so misinformed. Jenny, how do you diagnose this case?
I could not agree with you more. I've heard recently people say things like black people very sometimes do white better than white people, meaning like we assimilate and we adopt behaviors that are not necessarily ours or in our best interest because we want to get along, we want to be in the mix, we want to be part of, and I think that some of what we experience and see when we see somebody like Donald Trump, who is just, he's relentless in his takedown. People sometimes who have some aspect of power, element of power, want to figure out how they can align with that powerful force, even if it is detrimental to them, because they are more drawn to the power itself rather than doing the thinking and the analysis about, but does this really serve my and my community's collective interest? And I think we're seeing some of that. People aligning more with the power, almost kind of a go along to get along, and maybe they think that they can do business with somebody who is villainous in nature, and they think that they're going to come out on top and they're going to capture a win. But they're actually doing business with somebody who really is not intent on advancing their well-being. And I think that's where they come up short, and they don't understand that.
Let's go back to the phone. Let's go to, and a great question, Will, by the way. Let me go back south to the sage of the South on this anniversary day. Brother Jihad in Atlanta. Brother Jihad, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and Jones Austin.
Good afternoon to both of you. Reverend Sharpton, I think this young group of brothers that we're seeing, I don't think they left the Democratic Party. I don't think they were ever in the Democratic Party.
Wow.
So Michael and those other guys never. This is a breed that has been growing, and we see the result of that breed. And then you remember how this started, Reverend Sharpton. I think when they used to say, they started a few years back when they said, well, we need to be in both parties. We need to be in both parties. If you remember that language.
Yeah, I remember that. I do.
I mean, and then you asked a serious question. You said, okay, well, so what did you get out of the party?
Right.
What did you get out of being a member of the Republican Party? You know what I mean? So I believe wholeheartedly that Sir Michael them and what's the other brother name? He polished it into a big business, big monetary benefit.
Van.
You don't even hear from him no more.
Van Jones.
Van, and also the one before Van. There was one that used to. He got all kind of communication companies now, but he used to be on the Republican.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, okay, it'll come to me.
Yeah, it'll come to him. But anyway, I do wholeheartedly believe that they get the benefit.
Armstrong Williams.
That there's a financial benefit. Armstrong Williams.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. But they make money off of that particular situation. And because there's no, and then you say, I think you mentioned they might be misinformed. There's no way right now you can be misinformed today. You can't misinform Trump. You can't. There's no big. What's that word? What's that word?
Ambiguity.
Ambiguity. Yeah, there's none. You know what I mean? So there's no way that they're misinformed also. But you know, something came to me the other day, a while back, and I remember maybe about 5 or 10 years ago, maybe five recently, that one of the conservatives started saying, well, they started quoting Dr. King. Do you remember that recently?
Oh yeah.
They started quoting Dr. King. Well, Dr. King said, and that, you know, we can see what they were doing now, but it really was kind of, I said, no, why are they quoting Dr. King? You know what I mean? But what they were doing was setting the groundwork for what they did today, or what they're going to do Tuesday, possibly in that Louisiana situation. You know what I mean? They're pushing the agenda that there's no discrimination, there's everything is fine, so therefore nobody needs to be compensated or helped we're all, in other words, even those white representatives that they're going to get in Louisiana, they're going to represent us. So we're a color conscious society. That's what they're trying to tell us. But yet we get the young Republicans yesterday who the vice president called kids. And they keep calling them kids. Kids. They're not kids. They were 20-something to 40. You know what I mean? The Republicans who were, young Republicans who were having these demeaning content about black people and other minorities and Jews and et cetera, those were 20-something to 40-year-old men. I think it was 24 to 40 or something like that. But they keep referring to them as kids over and over again. Kids. No, they weren't kids. They were grown men. Been to college, got a job, working, and putting that particular view out. But I mean, Jenny, I got a little back up, if I could, with you a little bit.
Hold up 1 minute. Let me take the break. Let me take the break, and you can do it on the other side. I hear the music, and I want y'all to be able to dialogue on what the break is. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keep it real. Sharpton, Jones Austin, right after this.
Joining James Brown, Muhammad Ali, and myself now from New York City is the Reverend Al Sharpton. And Mr. Brown, James, I'd like to ask you about this young man, how you came to meet him, and what the National Youth Movement, which he represents, is all about. Tell me something about
it. Teaching young kids the right way to go, and the things to be involved in education. Don't be a dropout, which is one thing I'm very much behind. Unless kids have guidance, they have no place to go. And the idea is to try to mold them. I mean, we think of anything, we think of it as a baby. And what we mold them to be is what it will be later on. He used to stand at my back door, and he believed in what I said, the Don't Be a Dropout program, and the fact of helping kids and giving the right idol and the right image to go with, cleaning, grooming, and wanting to work, wanting to be something. I started as a kid, a juvenile delinquent, and everything. Had no model. And I was able to be a model for a young man like this. And what he turned out to be is a minister, and he preaches the right thing, and I'm for him 1,000%. I'm for everything he's about.
Mr. Sharpton, how national right now is the National Youth Movement? Is it something new? Has it been going on for a while? Do you have a stated number of members? Tell me something about it.
Well, we don't really get into a numbers game, because that's been a trick that has been played for the last 20 years. What we're basically interested in doing is saying to young people of impoverished backgrounds that there are people like a Muhammad Ali and a James Brown that represents hope to us. Because these people, despite all of the social odds, despite the unemployment statistics, despite the lack of education in their day, were able to grow and be something that we can be proud of. A man like me didn't have a father at home, but I had a James Brown to look up to and would want to sing and dance like him, or Muhammad Ali, who I saw stand up and give away millions of dollars of stamps to the government so that I would have a right to come 10 or 20 years later and try to fight for my kids. So what we're saying is there are symbols and images that kids can look up to and not have to throw a brick through a window, but that can work by the sweat of their brow and succeed, just like these two gentlemen did.
But considering the numbers of young kids today, and Rev, there are hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of kids who really are in hopeless and desperate situations, is it enough to just offer them an example?
You say hopeless, though. Not hopeless.
Well, let's say, to them, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids,
it's never hopeless. There's no such thing as hopeless. It's never hopeless. When I got 8 to 16 years for breaking and entering as a kid, because I was hungry, and here I am today, it's not hopeless. Let's don't say hopeless. Then we're carving out. I don't believe in hopeless. Don't you think it's hope? If you believe in something, try it. No such hopeless. I don't believe in hopeless. We're not going to go with that. And I think he's not about teaching them how to get out and fight for themselves. That's what it's about. No, it's not hopeless. Everybody has a cause and everything, but everybody want to live. And I think living is what we're about. We're not going to teach dying. Hopeless is
Okay,
dying.
I agree with you 100%, James. But what I'm trying to ask here is simply saying you too can be a James Brown or a Muhammad Ali. Is that enough to give a kid who's hungry, who doesn't know where his next meal is coming?
I'll say it.
Give him somewhere to go.
I think it's awful weak to tell a kid you can be a James Brown, one of the greatest entertainers in the world, and me, one of the greatest fighters. And like you said, the hundreds of thousands of millions of kids that need a break. You can't have that many great people, but they can get educated. They can go to school. They can learn. I'd like to say one thing. We have crime today. It's a big problem. I think they took a national vote on what the people want the government to spend most of the money on, and crime was over national defense. Worrying about Russia, China, outside enemies, they're worrying about inside crime. We have crime today, all type prostitution, murder, exploitation, degradation, and wars of all kinds. And I'm going to tell you why everything's happening. And I think if you're intelligent, you agree with it. If we were riding an airplane and the two pilots die for some reason, is there anybody in this room that can go in the cockpit, pick up the radio, start working it, bring the plane in, depressurize it as it land, and make it, and late at night on a stormy day? You couldn't do it.
Right.
Well, but if you learn how to fly, or if they show you how to fly, you can. Since God made the world and God made us, He sent the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, sent Moses, Jesus, Noah, to show us how to run the world. And God left His laws. If we don't follow His laws, then we crash.
Let me say this, though, Mr. Snyder, in response to your question to Mr. Brown, Mr. Ali. Yes, it is enough to begin with showing them an example, because before you get to education, you need motivation. If you don't have motivation to get out of the bed, you won't make school or the party. And what we try to do by showing a James Brown or Muhammad Ali is not that you can be a great champion maybe like Ali or a great entertainer like James Brown, but if you use the same initiative that they did to make him get up 5 in the morning and run 10 miles and just have a dream and to come back 3 times and accomplish that dream, to have more hits than anybody in the world, even when the music world wouldn't give him credit for it in terms of a James Brown. If you had that initiative to keep working at whatever it is that you're going to do, you can succeed. And what we're saying to them is you may not reach the plateau of public prominence of them, but if you can reach the personal discipline and personal motivation of them, you can reach a plateau in your life. Because it's not about looking for a government handout, it's about looking for a way out, as James Brown said.
All right, and then how receptive are the young people that you tell this to?
Very receptive.
Really?
Very receptive. Very receptive. I think that people have misunderstood that most people of impoverished and depressed areas are not looking for the government to give them something. They just want a chance. I remember when I was a little boy, James Brown used to sing, "I don't want nobody to give me nothing, just open the door, I'll get it myself." Well, that's all people want now is a chance. Let me get a piece of the action. Let me get a piece of the pie. Let me stand up on my own.
All right. At one
man should have the major corporations, the government, should get behind him and push the programs that he's about.
Except maybe if he does it himself and gets grassroots support, it's better than having the government stick their nose in, because they have a way sometimes.
We're not talking about control.
Yeah.
We're not talking about control. We're talking about a way of start. You know, they have to start. If they fund crisis and fund all these different other things, they can fund up small, man, to get started. Then the private sector will join in. But let them help too. It should be.
Last thing. Somewhere along the line here tonight we used a graphic saying long, hot summer. Are you in any way, I'm certain you're not predicting a long, hot summer. You're not predicting urban strife. You're not predicting disorder, anything like that.
Well, what I'm saying is, you know, at home you have an oven. There are flames on top of the oven, and then there's heat in the oven. We always discuss whether there'll be a flame on the top, and don't discuss it. There's already 600 degrees inside. I'm not concerned as much about a long, hot summer because it's been a long, hot winter. Yeah. People are unemployed.
Okay.
People are unemployed. People are getting their homes ripped off. Parents' pocketbooks being snatched. As Ali said, crime is at a highest rate it's ever been. So rather than us running around the streets looking for a brick, we should be looking at the fact the brick is already in most people's houses. How do we get the brick out of the house? How do we cool the long oven out? Let's not wait for the explosion and then just cut the flames off upstairs. Let's put the flame out inside. And the only way to do that is everybody to get up and work by the sweat of their brow in America and try to be productive like these two gentlemen have been in their life against all odds. They came up in a world that was alien to them, and they made it. And we can make it if we have the same initiative they did.
Mr. Sharpton, it's been a pleasure to have you here tonight, and I've enjoyed meeting you very much.
Thank
Thank
you
you for
very
coming
much.
by, and thank you, James Brown, for being with us again. Kent, thank you for being here tonight.
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Let's go back to the phone. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin. You know, every day, Monday through Friday, I do 3 hours a day on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. I do 1 hour on Sunday mornings with Reverend Al Sharpton. And I'm live on radio and TV with the Saturday Action Rally. 7 days a week, I talk to our people, hear from them, to call in. I'm sick and tired of people talking for people that they don't talk to. So go on www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Listen to my show, call in, express your opinion. You don't have to agree with me. But let's start talking to each other rather than about each other and lecturing at each other. Let's keep it real with Sharpton.
You like friends?
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host. Let's go back to Jihad, Jenny.
Hello?
Yes, you on.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So what I was wanted to say to Ms. Jenny, I don't know what she heard, all I said what I heard. And I never heard the men say that she wasn't qualified or that they didn't want a black woman to lead. I heard them say they were angry about supposedly her record with putting black men in jail. But I never heard anyone say that they didn't think she was, because she was a woman. A black man, I didn't hear black men say, because she was a woman, they didn't offer their support to her. And I just want
So I appreciate your saying that, and what I will say to you in turn is that there were circles in which I moved where men talked about whether or not she was the right person to lead and what we needed in this moment. And I will say to you that as a black woman, the standards that are often put upon black women, even by black men, put us at a place where, you know, our ability to lead, our qualifications to lead are challenged. Now, you might not, and I'm not saying you, sir, I'm just saying generally speaking, black men may not readily come out and say, oh, you're not qualified. But very often the statements that are made put us in a place, in a space where it is a question or the inference being made is whether or not we are qualified. When you are supporting Donald Trump and you're saying that you're concerned about her actions as it concerns, say, criminal justice, serving as the Attorney General, carrying out her responsibilities, her designated, her lawful responsibilities, but you are okaying a man who took action against people who, 5 young men who were alleged to have committed a crime and wanted the death penalty for them without them having been prosecuted. When you have a man who sat in the White House and was calling people in communities of color criminals, when you have somebody who has said time and time again that, you know, black children will go waywardly because they have no direction, but you say, but you lean more towards that person than an individual who has demonstrated her qualifications. You know, logic, in my opinion, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but again, I've talked to many men who talked about this issue, that you could sit in the barbershop and hear black men say that she was not qualified or she was less qualified. But very often that is where we're going, that we look at black women differently, even within our own community, and we judge them on a different standard.
Well, let me say this. I think that one of the things, and I usually agree with both of you, but one of the things I think that was disturbing to me is that there was a different standard whoever is elected president is going to elect an attorney general or select and have them confirm an attorney general that's going to lock up people, including black folks. So and I agree with Jihad that a lot of black men were saying that. And I said she run for president. If she's the president, she's going to appoint an attorney general that's going to lock up black men, white men, and all. Are you saying that she disproportionately locked up black men? And they could not answer that. I agree with Jenny that there's some. Go ahead.
No, what I'm saying, I'm not getting into the reasoning.
No, I know you're not. No, you're talking about what was being said. That's what I was saying, and I know what Jenny was saying about where there seemed to be some misogyny there. I would say that one of the things that I think people, and it's not just in our community, Jenny and Jihad. I was at a place the other night, and a white male looked kind of mid-60s, maybe early 60s, came over to me with a younger man, a younger white male, looked like he was in his 30s. And he said, Remal, my son would like to take a picture with you. Can I take a picture? I said, yeah. And he said he's a big fan. He says, I've grown to respect you, but I just never got over you in that Tawana Brawley case 40 years ago. I said, oh, okay. He said, I'm a Republican. I voted for Trump. I said, well, I was with you till you said that. And he laughed. I said, no, let me ask you a question. And I took the picture with his son. I said, now let me ask you this question. He said, what? I said, 38 years ago, 40 years ago, woman calls me, 2 lawyers are with her that had taken her case about her daughter, was found in a bag and said she had been molested and raped by white law enforcement. And I believed it. I didn't believe the mother would lie on the daughter and was convinced that the daughter wasn't lying. And I knew the lawyers from the Howard Beach case. I said, but you never forgave me because a grand jury, not even a jury trial, said the girl made it up. You held against me believing the girl. But you voted for a man that was convicted of trying to put a woman in a bag. He was convicted of sexual harassment. So let me get this right. What's the standard? Nobody ever accused me of trying to molest Tawana Brawley. They accused me of believing her. But you voted for somebody that tried to molest somebody. And he looked at me and said, I never thought about it that way. And I think a lot of us say things, white and black, that until somebody challenges us, we say the most ridiculous stuff in the world. And like men tell me I don't trust what a woman can do. I said, fine. Show me a man that didn't come here through the womb of a woman. So, I mean, what are we talking about? But we say this, which is why I agree with Jihad. It was said now, and it got currency until somebody fact checks it. It's a fact. She locked up black men. And when I said to them, tell me the percentage of black men she locked up as opposed to others. And they said, I don't know about that. Then why are you making the statement? And I think that's why some of us need to be challenging a lot of these misconceptions, because some of these people are not trying to be ugly, they're misinformed, and they parrot misinformation.
That's correct. And let me say this, and I'll end with this. Again, and this is I heard you say this, I think, yesterday or the day before, how we make statements, including myself, sometime about the minority voice. I mean, the minority voice that says, in this particular situation, they don't think that women are qualified. 90%, I would think that 90% of black men would not say that their mother is not qualified.
Mm-hmm.
The Republican gentleman that I had a situation where I told him about what Charlie Kirk said about black people and et cetera, and black women and et cetera, and he still defended Charlie Kirk. So I asked him, I said, do you think by any chance he's talking about your wife or your mama or your sister? Or do you think he's just talking about my mother, my wife, and my sister, and he excludes your wife, who's a black woman, your mother, who's a black woman, and still, after that rationale, Reverend Al, the fool still attempted to defend Charlie Kirk. But I
Yeah.
think that what we, you know, I just feel wholeheartedly, and I do agree that there are some men that do that. But I think that the majority of black men, as you said, 76 to 80% voted for Kamala Harris.
And they did.
And so,
And I think also to be fair, let us also say that white men said the same thing when Hillary Clinton ran in 16. And so it is misogyny across all racial lines. So let's be fair with that. I think you were trying to say something, Jenny.
Yeah, I appreciate this conversation, and I'm thinking, Reverend Sharpton, that it probably, if we ever had the time, warrants a larger conversation, because there is, how do I say this? There is the talking about this topic through the lens of the man versus talking about this topic through the lens and even the experience of the woman. And so I think that we need to give that voice if we really lean in, because what may not be experienced as misogyny, I may think that my mother's qualified to do many things, doesn't necessarily mean that I think that my mother's qualified to be president of the United States.
All right, got to take a break. Thank you for your call, Jihad. Let me take a break. We'll be right back. More of you keeping it real. Sharpton, Jones, Austin. Be right back.
So good. That was beautiful. Thank you, everyone. I am humbled and grateful to be here with you tonight. I love you too. I love you too. It seems like I've known Reverend Al Sharpton all my life. My mom was such a fan of his, and I've seen him through my life in LA at MCA Records. When I was there, he'd come through, you know, and get those people straight about our contracts and talk about that. And I haven't been honored a lot. Maybe this is my second time, and I'm 68 years old. And I've been in this business my entire life. I've never done what you would call a real job. But I am truly honored, and I'm thankful, and I love us. I love my black people. And I fight for us, and I want the women, the black women, to really know their worth. Know that they're queens. That's important to me. That's how my mother raised me. My mother was militant, I guess, when it wasn't trendy, yes. Because when I was a little girl, my mother and father would drive in Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, do or die. And when she would see police officers handling black children or a black boy or a girl, she would have my father stop and say, she'd get out of the car and she'd say, what's going on here? Wait a minute, what you doing? All the time. So it's natural that I'm that way because I'm so tired of seeing our black men beaten with handcuffs. They have handcuffs on. That's important to me. That's my fight. I want love in this world. We're living in some, I love you, I love you. I never knew love like this before. I can't sing because we just finished doing 3 shows back to back. And I flew in this morning and because Reverend Al wanted me to sing home. There's no way I could sing home, but okay. When I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. I wish I was home. I wish I was back there with the things I've been knowing. When that makes us tall grass bend into leaning, suddenly the raindrops that fall have a meaning. Sprinkling the sea makes it all clean. But thank you. Thank you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. I love you. I love you with my life.
Stephanie Mills.
We have a short birthday, so we just wanted to greet you all and thank you for allowing us in. Yes, sir. We would go. Yeah, we was here.
They were on the plantation.
Right, our family was on the plantation. Wow. And that's, of course, that's the slave house. That's one of the slave houses.
Sir, it's been 13 years.
That's right.
Good to
How
see
you
you.
been?
Doing fine.
Last time. And we,
Alexander Sharpton. How many slaves were staying there?
I have no idea.
This is where they would have a slave.
Yeah, that's when exactly. That was exactly.
Reverend Al Sharpton, Attorney General for Jones Austin is our co-host. Don't forget, Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, and we'll be live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MSNBC. And I'm already lining up some of the senators, governors that are directly impacted by the lockdown and shutdown, and how we get out of this. I'm also going to have those that are dealing with the issue, and I think very serious issue, of deportation, discrimination when it comes to blacks. We're going to deal with the Chicago situation. I'll be in Chicago Sunday doing the show from there. Saturday, I'm doing it from New York. And I will certainly be dealing with the voting rights issue as it went in front of the Supreme Court for oral arguments this week. So a lot of heavy stuff you do not want to miss this week, Saturday or Sunday. Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, live at 5 p.m. Eastern on MSNBC. And you that in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice in Harlem, 145th Street, Lenox Avenue in the village of Harlem, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And we have a lot of work to do this weekend. We're going to be dealing with the whole question of how we're going to dispense people on the voting. We're about ready to start dealing with the corporations that we're buying shares from to start going to shareholder meetings that we're boycotting. And the whole battle around, I think, the weaponization of the criminal justice system against our state attorney general, Tish James. So be at the rally Saturday 9 to 11, House of Justice, 145th and Lenox Avenue in the village of Harlem. Let us go back to the phone. It's Policy Day. Todd, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and Jones Austin.
Believe it, I really am keeping it more real than you usually hear from me, and I do keep it real. Reverend Al Sharpton, Jennifer Jones Austin. So in the 21st year, the early 21st year of your life, Reverend Al Sharpton, 1974, Public Law 93-344 was signed into public law. That's the Congressional Budget Empowerment and Control Act, which required by law, which means they're supposed to abide by it, that there be deadlines established, set, and followed through on funding the government. If an individual, any individual, is lawfully employed and within the following within the agreement of their employment by the federal government, they're supposed to be getting paid. They put that law in place to compensate for decades of not having a law like that in place and where it caused problems. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18 of the United States Constitution says the Congress has a responsibility to fund the government, meaning government employees when they say fund the government. Because of the condition of the country at the time of the Constitution, they couldn't put deadlines in. They were broke or very close to broke, new country. 1974, as is today, the tax dollars were available in 1974. The tax dollars are available now. The money is not being allocated because of an intentional violation of Public Law 93-344. It doesn't matter if you don't get everything that you want in the bill that you're proposing, referencing the Republican Party. And the same thing with the Democratic Party. And this is on the Republican Party today. It is, absolutely. But what matters is, are the tax dollars available? Are the federal employees within alignment of their agreement of employment, meaning they're in good standings, and it hasn't been signed in so that they can get paid? This is the 11th time this has happened. For over 50 years, 11 times Congress has failed to follow Public Law 93-344 and not been in compliance with Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18 of the United States Constitution. And every one of these 50 years, this has been the case because of petty, self-absorbed violators of the law who know they can get away with it and also know they're going to continue to get paid, as they are today. As they are today. Sensationalism is the cause of this. If you listen to Chantel Brown, congressperson from the 11th District of Ohio, interview she did on a local radio broadcast here in Cleveland just this week, there was no sensationalism. She explained the Democratic Party's position very well. That's rare for her. She didn't get into any double talking or anything like that, and she laid it out right there. But if you listen to Hakeem Jeffries, look at his website and see how he's joking around. Basically, well, he ain't joking, but he's adding to sensationalism, referring to Donald Trump as being in the witness protection program. Donald Trump was at work at the very day, October 3rd, that Hakeem Jeffries made that comment. He wasn't working on that, getting the government funded, but he was at work. But you got a 15, 16-year-old kid in a government class and sees that and just thinks to themselves automatically, this ain't serious. Look at what Hakeem Jeffries said. And then go and look, whether you like Trump or not, and see that he was actually working. He wasn't in no witness protection program. It's the sensationalism. It's the sensationalism that is continuing this, that is allowing this to continue. And although I repeat, this is on the Republican Party. These people should be getting paid. It's on Congress as a whole, that they have not put in stipulations, as we talked about last week, that if you are an essential worker, you are to get paid. That's not in place. It's not. I don't even know that anybody's working on it, and I don't know that anybody has worked on it. And I'm going to say it one more time. In the early 21st year of your delivery date, a long time ago, this was made into public law that they're supposed to hit these deadlines. And 51 years later, they still ain't done it. What does that tell you about the civic engagement of the public? What does that tell you about the necessity for civics to be better taught in the taxpayer-funded neighborhood public schools so people will respond better to this behavior, and folks that work for air traffic control and the military and their spouses can still feed themselves? They show up on time for work.
Well, let me let Jenny respond.
My first thought is I appreciate you for always doing the due diligence, the history. I am not familiar with that law, and so you know me, I'd have to look at and read and examine all of the particulars of the law. As you talked, what I kept thinking to myself is the law requires that people get paid, but the reason that you have a government shutdown is because there is no approved budget. And so in the federal government, you cannot expend resources if you do not have an approved budget to do so. The reason it's called a government shutdown is because, technically speaking, it is a government shutdown. The government has stopped working except for essential services. And so legally, you might have if one were to take that matter to court and apply the law that you just did. And again, I don't know the law, so I'd have to really look closely at it. But the reason that the government may be able to do this and get away with it is because technically there is no budget that has approved the expenditures for paying the employees, and so therefore you can't just send money out. You have to have an approved budget in order to make the expenditures. So I'd have to look at it to make sure that it's as black and white as you say it is, but that's probably the way that one gets around that.
Yeah, I think that the answer that Jenny gives us would be part of what I would give. I would also say that what you're saying, if it's true, is a salient point that I don't understand why it's not being raised in by the members of Congress, if in fact the law is as you say it is and should be cited. And as far as comparing Hakeem Jeffries' website to Donald Trump's being working, I think, frankly, is ludicrous. There's nobody that does more memes and clowning online and in person than Donald Trump. So to take one isolated day on Hakeem Jeffries, who I think has done a stellar job, and compare that, because Trump was at work doing what? Watching television? I mean, every meme, wait a minute, I didn't interrupt you one time, Todd. I'm taking issue with you today. To take one isolated incident and act like Trump was working and Hakeem was joking, I think is inaccurate at best. From what I've seen, Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer and on the other side, Al Johnson and Thune have been working and dealing with these issues, and it could not come to an agreement. To give Trump credit that he's working, to me, is absurd.
He was working.
Well, let's just say Trump was in the office and was, quote, working on January 6th, 2021.
The point that I'm making is not that Hakeem was joking. I corrected that as I was going along. The point that I'm making is that's a sensationalized statement that he made that he should not have made. And the reason he shouldn't have made it is because it draws attention to to things that aren't true. Trump was working on October 3rd. He wasn't working on this thing, and this thing is partly his fault. But Hakeem Jeffries gave energy to some 15 or 16-year-old kid who's halfway learning how the government works, sees a comment like that, and then somebody draws attention to him. It's like, here's a record of what the president was doing on this day, which means he was actually working. But the bigger issue here that I'm bringing up is that everybody that comes to Congress knows, that's why I said Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18 of the Constitution, your job is to fund the government, which means your job is to make sure that budget gets in place. And at minimal, because of Public Law 93-344 of 1974, because of that, it's supposed to come in at a certain time. So there should be something in place by now where certain services are always going to get paid. That includes the military.
Yeah, well, I think that's a potent point that needs to be looked into. I agree with Jenny. We need to look at that law, and I agree with you that if it's there, it's important. I think that I disagree. Hakeem taking a shot at Trump and somebody checking that out I don't think that's a real issue. I mean, Trump takes shots at me all the time, and I don't even get on there and defend it because I know he takes a shot warning. He thinks he plays his crowd getting in a fight with me. And I think it was the week before last, he did a whole 3 or 4 paragraphs on Truth Social against me. Never answered it. And he always ridicules all of us. I wouldn't respond to that. And I think that Hakeem and Schumer and them have tried in every way they can to deal with it. But I should and will look up this law. Thank you for your call, Todd. I know we're out of time, Jenny. Thank you, as always, for being with us on Thursdays. And remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally. Keep it real. Keep it real. Whatever you do, keep it real. Keep it real. I'll talk to you tomorrow.